I think I should put on the video so that we can start way. So I take this opportunity to welcome you all once again in this interesting discussion that we're going to have, and tackling different issues that we think really resonates with the current situation, but also means a lot to lawyers and also entrepreneurs who are listening to us, or who will be listening to us going forward when we share the recording. So it's an amazing to have you all, your people of respect, your people of experience and professional skills. It's so much fun, and it is a humbling opportunity for us to share our knowledge and and have some impact in our societies in one way or the other. So I'll take this opportunity to first of all ask. Let me start with Stella Bida. Stella,
Yes.
you are gonna introduce yourself in 1 minute, and you'll be followed by Diane and Cynthia, then by Eden. Then I'll also proceed forward with our discussion today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kiza. Thank you, everyone. Honored to be invited to this discussion. So I'm Stella Bida. I'm currently based in Brussels, in Belgium. I'm a business strategist and business consultant. I love working around change. That's really like my thing, whether it is with people or organizations. And yeah, just supporting people in their change process. So this is like an excellent topic as we go through all the changes that this COVID-19 is going to bring us. So honored to be part of the panel. Thank you, Kiza.
Thank you so much. And I will state for the record that we are so happy to host you in Kigali in our last held TEDx event in Kigali. I hope you should come back soon.
Oh, that would be an honor. That would be a pleasure. It was 1 year ago. Yeah. Good to be back virtually.
Thank you so much. Let's proceed on with Diane. Diane, please.
Hello, everyone. Stella, I would like to speak to you at the end of this call. So, I don't know how I can get in touch with you, but I would love to speak to you about something. But my name is Stella Constantinides. I am an international human rights lawyer. I work at 33 Bedford Road Chambers. I practice international criminal law and human rights. I represent victims before the International Criminal Court, hybrid courts, international tribunals, United Nations, and any other kind of committee that may potentially deal with the rights of the victims when it comes into war crimes, crimes against humanity, and genocide situations. At the same time, I'm utilizing, as you said very correctly, Stella, the change that we all, one way or another, going through. And with COVID-19, there are undeniably a lot of changes. So I'm making sure that I stay up to date. And what I've done, I've created also a YouTube channel that I'm making, creating a community or making people aware of the kind of work that we're doing. So I would urge all of you, if you could subscribe to the YouTube channel, or perhaps to discuss about potential collaborations. I would love to. So that's from me. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Kiza.
Wonderful, wonderful, Diane. Diane is an amazing person. I've had an opportunity to work with her, to work under her, and going forward, she's a change maker and a mover. Thanks. Keep doing what you do best.
Thank you, Kiza.
Let's have Cynthia, please.
Hey everyone, I'm Cynthia. I'm a lawyer, a Mexican lawyer. I work with technology. I work in my law firm is named Novus Concilium, and we are specialized in technology and innovation. So I'm really glad to talk with you about all of this, of all what we are living about COVID-19. We have seen a lot of new entrepreneurs doing a lot of things really, really good, mixing technology, and lawyers are making great stuff there too. So thank you for the invitation, and nice to meet you all.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much, Cynthia, for having accepted to join us. Your knowledge will be so relevant to us and so helpful to many who will be listening to you. Technology is now taking over, and definitely we have to embrace it, even in our legal profession. Let's go on with my brother Eden Muki.
Hello everyone, my name is Eden Namuki Agobasimwen. I'm also known as Namuki. I live and operate in the realms of as an artist, an entrepreneur, and development leader. I'm the director of the organization's Young Creative Leaders and Elevate Young Minds. And essentially within those organizations, there's a variety of solution-driven initiatives that have been running for the last 4 to 5 years now. Yeah, I come from an artistic background, so I have an MA in dance, and I'm a choreographer. But alongside that, I'm also a business owner and a youth leader.
Thank you so much, Eden Muki. Just for the record, also to share how I know you. We came to know each other, I think, from London, in Commonwealth, and from there, he has been doing amazing work all over the world, I can say. And here we have him. We have an opportunity to talk to him and share with us some great knowledge on how can we empower young people with entrepreneurship skills. So just let me also briefly introduce myself. I did not introduce myself starting this conversation. I'm called Kiza Hussein. I'm also a lawyer by profession. I'm the managing partner at SHK Law Attorneys, and I'm the Goodwill Ambassador, trying to promote goodwill work that includes humanitarianism and also changing our communities in one way or the other. I'm also the Africa lead at our cause, where we champion SDGs, and we work across African countries to empower young people to cause change within their communities while also realizing the 17 SDGs goals. So it's an honor to have you here and have this discussion that I think it's been overdue since we had this. It's quite a while since we had this kind of discussion where we feel that people are anxiously waiting to know what can they do, not only for their business, but also for their lives and their professions. So I feel that the diversity of the speakers that I have here today, which is you, we are going to shed light, but also share knowledge that we feel can be utilized in restarting our economies and empowering young people and empowering women and youth to cause change within their countries. So allow me to go back to Stella. Stella, please, you have 5 to 7 minutes to submit to our topic, which are the role of lawyers and entrepreneurs in the post-COVID-19 recovery. Thank you so much, Stella.
Thank you, Kiza. Well, it's a wonderful period now. I just wanted, if I can have your permission on this. I know the topic is about bouncing back regarding the COVID-19, but what I wanted to propose is another perspective about the theme, like bouncing forward instead of bouncing back. And what I mean by that is that we are today like at an inflection point. And anything that we're going to do today regarding that point we are in will determine what will happen afterwards. So that's a critical point we are today. And it's all about bouncing forward. And regarding the role of entrepreneurs, I would like sum up the key elements I see into 3 aspects. The first aspect being, first of all, to acknowledge the responsibility that we all have into reigniting the momentum of the economy. Why am I talking about the responsibility that we each have? Because sometimes when I talk with entrepreneurs, I have that feeling that we are waiting for something else to happen before everything starts back. Let's wait for the government. Let's wait for the subsidies. Let's wait for all the helps and everything. And what I want everybody to understand, actually, whether you are an entrepreneur or not, is that everybody has a role in the chain. So it's first of all about taking and owning that responsibility, and saying, okay, what can I do today? I'm not going to wait. Instead of a waiting mode, I would propose everyone to be in a creating mode. So that's really the first aspect about it, taking responsibility and owning the creativity that we need to have. The second point, that brings me to the second point about the creativity aspect. I would say that there will be a lot of innovations, and it has already started. Everybody's, trying to bring new aspects, new ways of working, new elements to the market. And it's so important because that creativity does two things. The first thing that it does is that it recreates hope. And it is that hope that will, bring that spark back into the economy and into the market. And what creativity does also is that it shows what is possible. And I'm going to take a specific example regarding that. I don't know if you're aware, but a few weeks ago, there was a lady in the US. She's actually from Congo, and she created a whole fashion show without any fashion model. It had extraordinary traction on internet, and she actually used 3D virtual reality to create the whole fashion show. And she had so much attention regarding that because she brought back that hope. She brought back that spark to people to tell them, you know what, even though we are in a crisis today, I am able to create a whole fashion show to install all that spark without any fashion model actually being physically there. And that's what I mean by the hope. We as entrepreneurs are there to spark back the hope and to show people what is possible. So basically, any entrepreneur who has any new ideas, any new things to bring to the market, this is the moment, because this is the moment where all the eyes, all the attention is there to looking for something which is great and looking for that hope. So I really encourage all the people who are still doubting about when can they put their products on the market, when can they make their dreams come true, to actually do it now, because that's the moment where all the attention is there. And the last thing, which I think is one of the important ones, is as entrepreneurs, we are all change makers now, change agents, change experts. And what I mean by that is that we are responsible for all the things that we bring to the market, the people we provide service to. We are responsible to take into account the human aspect. I think we've all seen that, the human aspect has been brought back with all the pandemic, etc. But it will be so important now because we're not only selling our services, selling our products, we're also showing empathy and integrity towards the people we're servicing. It's no longer just about, or the law practice, the products and service. It's also about listening to the people we're servicing, because they are going through so much emotion nowadays with everything that is going on in the world. So it's really, I think there's business as entrepreneurs, but first of all, let's not forget the human aspect and doing it with integrity. So for me, this is the best moment. It's for bouncing forward. So that's what I have to bring. I hope it really ignites back the spark for anybody who wants to go towards entrepreneurship.
Thank you so much, Stella. Well, I definitely would love to agree with you redefining the topic of today, bouncing forward. Because I don't myself, I don't think that we shall bounce back the way we are, but rather we shall be looking into the future. So how do we bounce forward into that future, into the new norm? So thank you so much, Stella. I wouldn't want to go into whatever you've stated. You clearly outlined some of the key points that you feel we should really consider and entrepreneurs should really consider. And I agree with you. We are in a very critical moment where we need to be empathetic to what our clients, even our sellers.
Hello, am I unmuted? Hello?
Who is muted? Let me see. Okay, sorry. I think someone is saying she's muted, but you can really unmute yourself. You're allowed to unmute yourself if you feel you want to speak. But for all my panelists, I will allow the audience to share their experiences and maybe their questions at a later point. Thank you so much. So Stella, wonderful. You laid it well, and I'll come back to you later to ask you a few questions on this. And let's go on to listen to Diane. Diana, are you with us? Diane?
I think we might have lost her for a minute.
Okay, looks like Diane, I think we shall come back to her. Diane is not able to talk. Okay, let's go on to Eden Muki. Can you please proceed? We shall come back to Diane later.
I guess I can start by sharing a story and trying to explore what it means to be an entrepreneur. And as an entrepreneur, these are the moments we live for. A space, a holiday, essentially, a space where the world stops and gives you 2 to 4 months to think, to breathe, to re-innovate, to rethink, to restructure. And working with a lot of my students and people that were meant to be traveling with us this year, after let's start with the first week of the lockdown. The first week of the lockdown for me was about thinking, restructuring, also almost going through a little bit of a depressive moment because I had this full plan for the year, a great strategic development plan for the organizations, laid out, ready to roll. June was going to be an amazing year, 7 countries, great conversations, great partnerships. So, okay, then we have to let go of that. And we have to innovate, or we have to think. One of the biggest innovations in lockdown for me was having to take our dance platform, our dance development platform, and putting it online. And the process to doing that was what is essentially entrepreneurship. It's having to think outside the box, having to keep moving, essentially. So essentially, what I'm trying to say to the entrepreneurs that are watching this is, you can't call yourself an entrepreneur and be silent in development right now. And when you come back to the market, you must understand in preparation for that the market has shifted and the market has moved. So then you have to go back into research. There's SpaceX has a route to commercial space flights. So if you've missed that, then you have to understand that that's happening and that's shifted. Technology and a lot of companies that you will compete with have developed another layer of income, which, of course, might not be directly implemented as soon as they come back out, but they have that. And for those that have been working throughout this time, they have another layer of income. And for the social entrepreneurs, they've been able to develop many solution-driven initiatives. So then I come back to what it means to be an entrepreneur. And for me, and in my teaching, I speak of it as change and being willing to shift and being willing to develop and being willing to give yourself to the process. As much as the process in COVID has been brutal and difficult, layering self-isolation, layering a reduction of income, but that's where you have to innovate, and that's that's the cocktail you had to develop in. So after the first week of COVID, I went through a process where it was, okay, Eddie, speaking to myself, say, I thought you were this global director person that just do great things. What's going on here, mate? Why are you not innovating? Why are you not moving forward? Why are you not developing? Your networks are quiet. What's going on? So it's that conversation that you have to have with yourself if you truly call yourself an entrepreneur. And that conversation had to be had earlier, and that motivated you to move forward and keep shifting and keep moving, enabling us to develop a platform an innovative platform specific to the breakdance community, that the world, instead of dancers competing offline, they could compete online. and engaging our dance battle platform online, designing and developing that process has been brutal, meaning I've had to learn 4 different softwares from OBS to, so that's what entrepreneurship is. Meaning that when I come back to the market, and I'm really speaking specific to my experience in this moment, I'm ready and I feel ahead of competitors, and I feel like as a social entrepreneur, I have a solution that will support the economy, support the community in the future. We have to recognize that we will come back to a whole totally different market, I believe, because those that work and think and can be very determined like myself would have shifted a lot of what you thought was normal before you went to bed. So it's a statement, and it's a comment really to motivate, to say, don't waste this time. This is not a 3 months holiday at all. You know, you have to learn to compare yourself to people that are greater than yourself, which is, okay, what are these people doing? You know, do you think Richard Branson or whoever is sleeping, that has been sleeping for 3 months? Personally, I can't call anyone an entrepreneur if you have been in that situation. So innovation has been crucial, and our level of entrepreneurship in this moment has been tested. And there's 2 ways to come out. You will either come out stronger than ever with a new line of income that can be layered, or you come out as you left, but understanding that you might not fit into the market model anymore. And the market might not look different straight away, but give it 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, when other entrepreneurs that have worked and developed initiatives starts to publish and release. So it's a question of what's out there, how is it shifted, and how can I shift, and how can I innovate with it, and how can it be solution driven? Yeah, but understand that the world has shifted and we live in a totally different world now. And what you thought worked might not work when we come back. Might not meaning it won't work. Might not. Yeah. Thank you. I'll hand that back to you.
Thank you so much, Eden Moke. Thank you so much for sharing your story. First of all, it shows you how everyone has been dealing with their own stories and their own situations. But how have you, come back from realizing the reality and getting ready to delve into what is in there and how can you maneuver to the next step? So it's good. It's good that you've shared with us how you were able to shift to go online in this kind of situation, and you are now able to even adapt to the new way of doing your work, and also call upon other entrepreneurs who are thinking maybe they're waiting for COVID-19 to end and maybe they want economy to stabilize and they come back. They might come back when it's too late or they are not able to arise again. Mm-hmm. So it's necessary that thank you so much for sharing your experience and your inputs. I'll come back to you later for maybe to elaborate on some questions and all that. So allow me to proceed to our friend, our panelist, Diane. Diane, are you able to now speak?
Yes, I'm so sorry. For some reason, Zoom just kicked me out. It bounced me back.
Sorry.
I had my husband checking the system, making sure that I'm in place. I don't know what's been happening, but for some momentarily, I think the internet got disconnected. But all good now. I am fully connected in every level. Thank you so much, Kiza. I've managed to listen, I think, a bit to what Young was saying, and I definitely heard what Stella has been saying. So I would agree with Stella. So I'm going to actually take 3 points here. I'm going to argue about bouncing back and how I've seen that in my profession, bouncing forward, which I've seen that as well in my profession, and how did I cope with it, COVID-19, being an international human rights lawyer. Now, bouncing back, what I would say is that in nations, in regimes, authoritarian regimes, we have seen a huge backwards when it comes into human rights violations. Having women that they've been in the houses that they've experienced domestic violence. I know in UK we have a 49% increase in domestic violence incidents. So I know as soon as the doors are open in the court, I'm going to be asked to be representing either whether it's going to be prosecuting or defending domestic violence cases. When I was practicing predominantly criminal law, I would do 3 out of 5 cases per week. Sometimes I work on a Saturday, which was a remand court. It will be a domestic violence case. And for some reason, I feel it's going to be purely domestic violence incident. So we've seen that. We've seen that the countries that they are violating human rights or conventions or bilateral treaties on international law level, they have utilized this change, and as Stella very correctly said, and as Namuki said, this change, the countries that are able, the states that are able to utilize the change, that we use it for not good reasons. And we've seen that. And that has been a backward, that has been bouncing back. So we're going to have to work that, the international community, including myself, including yourself, to raise awareness and to make sure that we go forward, not backwards at this point. Now, that leads me to point number 2, forward. I am able now as an international human rights lawyer to deal with my affairs online. I don't have to go to the court that takes me 5 hours. I can do a lot more work being at home by utilizing the technology. I know, Cynthia, you are an technology IP attorney or technology lawyer, so I'm looking forward to hear from you. So utilizing and not being in one particular place, it's quite important, because that way you can utilize what you've got here and not where you are, because this can be anywhere. So that leads me to point number 3 as to how do I cope with it. I've seen a huge backdrop in my profession because the Bar Council itself have to readopt, they have to reconsider confidentiality issues, data protection. How do the witnesses? So I had a trial, a remote trial, a telephone hearing. My client was 75 years old, and she was chatting the judge. The judge said, "This is not a telephone conversation we're having. This is an actual trial that we're talking about." So there is a difficulty in conceiving and understanding that even though it's a remote trial, you do have to actually deal with it as if you are in court. But most importantly, when it comes into cross-examination, it can be so difficult to manage your witness, because all you see, it's the reaction. If someone tells you, "I didn't do it," and gives you a cheeky smile, you're going to ask him, "Why did you smile?" Well, you can't do that when you're over the telephone hearing, is it? So that's why they're putting into place now system. For example, there is the cloud video platform now that the Ministry of Justice is working on. We've got the Skype for Business that I've been talking on, and we had a huge case law from the Court of Appeal as to when to conduct a remote hearing. So until all that was in place, I did see that there was a huge let's say a time off, and as Namuki said, it's like a holiday period, which I utilized in creating, as you said, Stella. I used it in innovating, in thinking, in hibernating, but most importantly, I gave myself the time that I needed. Same way that the nature is breathing, I think humans as we are, we need time to breathe. We need time to think, to reflect, and I've done a lot of that. I'm not saying all days are great days, but it gives that pace that humans do need, and that's to kind of calm down. I've been enjoying my morning coffees whilst reading ancient Greek philosophy. As you can tell, I do love reading a lot, so I've been doing that to have a nice cup of coffee in the morning and not have to rush to get to court, and whilst doing so, being with a solicitor on the phone. So I've seen quality difference in my life. Now, how do we utilize COVID-19? There's 2 strands into this, but this is my take, and feel free to agree or disagree with me, and I'm happy to engage with you further in a conversation. I use this example with my grandmother that she passed away. I remember one day I came back from court. I've been practicing criminal law for quite some time, and I think that was like my initial very junior levels. And I said to my grandmother, I just can't deal. There's so much crime out there. How can you deal with it? And she said to me over our lunchtime, she says, listen, Diana, crime always existed. I'm 86 years old, and in my remote village, there are only 50 people. We had pedophiles, we had theft, we had murderers, we had you name it. And that put me into thinking, and I did a bit of research, and she's absolutely right. Human rights violations, criminal acts, they've been there in ages. And what does that give us? It gives us the message that humanity tends to repeat the same things. We humans, we want to socialize. We humans, we want to engage. We humans want to be part of a community. In part of that community, some of us follow the rules, some of us we don't follow the rules. So what does that give us? Which leads me to the second point, is that even after the COVID-19 comes to an end, I do sincerely believe that there may be innovation, but not a radical changes to how we behave as humans, because ultimately, simplicity is the one and only sophistication. And that is human interaction. That's what we always wanted, and that's how is it going to be, one way or another. So I'm very positive, I'm very optimistic, and I think that we've got to get a lot out of it. Thank you so much for listening to me, and I look forward to engage with you, with all of you, and talk about this.
All right, thank you so much, Diane, for sharing your wonderful presentation and also your own experience. And in one way or the other, many lawyers have faced some kind of challenges, in executing their work, but also they have faced new opportunities for them to, innovate and use technology in finding solutions to their clients. So we're going to this event might restart again soon, but keep online. We shall proceed with our discussion going forward. So. Diane, you mentioned something interesting also on the rise of, the rise of domestic violence, the rise of, abuses to women. And this has been because perhaps women and men and families that have been locked down together, even when they have never been, together for so long, but because of the COVID-19, they have forced to. And this has created challenges, but it shouldn't be that way. So I'll ask you going forward to share your thoughts on how should women be dealing with this, because there are some countries where they are still under lockdown and women are still facing this kind of challenges. But before you do that, let's go on to listen from Cynthia.
For example, we have to do like work home office, work on distance. We have to use some new applications. And I mean, my law firm used to be a technology law firm before COVID. We used a lot of technology. We used Zoom. We used applications. We used a lot of stuff, like new stuff. But that's not the general law. That's not all the lawyers. So now we are facing innovation in our profession. And for me, that's magic, because I think like former lawyers used to be like very traditional. They didn't want to use technology. And now this is the real life. As Stella said, we are not bouncing back. We have to bounce forward. And a lot of people keeps telling us, like, for example, here we have this phrase that when we go back to normality, and I think we are not going back anywhere. This is our new normality. This is the real life. This is the change. So we have to take it, to grab it, and go forward, and to do the best we can with the best we have. Technology is like a real good thing nowadays. I mean, check this. I'm in Mexico. You are not even in the same continent as me, and we are talking. This is magic, really, really. This is magic. So we have to take this, we have to improve our profession and to look for new ways to create new ways to work and to find like a new network. Maybe we can connect with other, maybe we can find like new ways to innovate even the most traditional professions, not only in law. I mean, entrepreneurs are everywhere, like everywhere, not kidding. For example, nowadays, I think all of us, because of lockdown, we used a lot of delivery systems or a lot of delivery, a lot of platforms of delivery. And I think that that's the best example. Maybe we used to have delivery, maybe we used to have these services, but nowadays we can use delivery on our cell phones. And that's like one of the examples, but we have tons of examples. We can see like medicine now, we have like doctors online. We can see that we can share our work online. We can be working in the same document in real life, in real time, in the same moment, the same page. So I think entrepreneurs can be everywhere, and we can use technology for this. Also, I think lawyers, we have to do this. I don't know how to explain without listening to me like a rude person, but I think we normally don't want to mix with other professions. We like to be like just lawyers and attend just the law, and we don't want to listen to other people and to listen to other professions. And I think that's wrong. We have to listen. As Stella said, we have to listen, not only in a professional way, but in a humanity way. And I think this is a new way to innovate, to change the way we are working, not only applying the law, but to become better listeners, to change what we used to do by listening and knowing like really well the people, so we can understand the needs. I mean, probably 1 or 2 years ago, the needs of entrepreneurs were different, but nowadays it's totally different. It's a new thing. We have to learn to listen, to be there, not only like reading and pretending to work. I mean, like understanding. So I think that's a new way to see this, to look forward to this, and to change how we are making deals, how we are innovating. So I think mainly that's the idea.
Thank you so much, Cynthia. I love the fact that for you, you had already embraced the future. It's as if you knew this is coming and you are ready for that. But it's good to know that you, as a law firm that specializes in technology, you are ready to help those that maybe would willingly want to adapt to the new norm and embrace technology. And thank you for also sharing your insights on what should we be doing as lawyers, collaborating, showing empathy and listening to our clients' needs, but also in a humane way, not just for the sake of making business and making money. So thank you so much, Cynthia, and I hope you also shed more light on some of the new technologies that you think law firms and even entrepreneurs should be looking forward to using their businesses. So let me go back to Stella. Stella, you talked about quite an interesting things. Among of the things you talked is hope. There is, like she said, empathy, listening. There is, looking into the future and innovating using the tools that are available. I wish to know from your own experience, what do you think entrepreneurs should be categorically using as a tool to, show their visibility, but also innovate to find solutions that to the challenges that the world is facing? I'm speaking in the form of entrepreneurs. It could be law firm, it could be someone who's in the village and perhaps is seeing a vacuum somewhere because of this COVID-19. We understand COVID-19 has exposed us and has created challenges, but also opportunities. So how would you tell this person really to use that kind of challenge to innovate and tap into the market?
Yeah, Kiza, that's a good question, but just let me check if I understood well. So are you looking for a way for entrepreneurs, not only lawyers, entrepreneurs as a whole, to use effectively this COVID-19? Because there were some clashes in the sound.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, sure.
Okay, good. I think the main thing is about, I think we're all up at the same starting block now. It means that any race that was happening before, that race is done, and we're starting all the same race now. So I think the challenge going into this COVID post forward will be, as entrepreneurs, as lawyers, as service providers, to capture the attention of the people. For me, capturing that attention will be a strategic approach to be taken, which means that let's not forget that we're all in business, okay? We're still trying to capture the attention of the same clients, the same customers, the same market. And so it will be a challenge for us to do it strategically, but also taking into account the human aspects of integrity, for example. That's the main challenge that I think there will be. And it is a challenge which can be overcome by showing with authenticity how we can really put, besides a need, a solution. So for me, that will be the main challenge. How do we capture the attention of the same people on the same market when we're starting a race at the same time? And I think the way we can do that with authenticity will be to use our integrity as human beings to really answer to the needs, the real needs of the people on the market. So that's how I see it. I don't know if it brings some solutions to the question you asked.
I can add to that.
Sure, proceed.
By saying capturing the attention is the most important, and I can only encourage that you are continuously capturing the attention of your market in this moment, because 3 months without interaction, you're basically setting yourself up for failure. And also, it also depends on what market you're in. So, for example, and how established you are in that space. Let's look at the music industry. You have artists like Jay-Z, who's overly very established, and then you have the emerging artists that are emerging, and they have had some good music out, and they have had some success. But 3 months of silence might mean when you come back, it might not be your audience might have shifted. They might have, somebody else that have been making music that relates to COVID, that relates to the moment, might have captured. But then it's, why do your audience follow you? Why do they buy your products, and how connected they are to your product? And that's the conversation really. But I would advise that, because I've not had a break, so there's no as mentioned earlier on, this is not a break, so I don't understand the idea of the starting the run at the same time, because the run is still running. So yeah, but it depends, and you don't always necessarily need to rush to get things out if you're that established, and if you feel like your community will we'll be back with you. For example, shifting our dance classes online was a prototype. We tried it and it didn't work, so we didn't do it. But we understand we have local to Manchester, we have a great stake in, because, okay, we have to think about health and safety, and actually, do we want to be teaching breakdance from the living room and there be that level, another level of risk? So we've not been doing that, but we've been sharing resources for the young people to do it themselves and engage with other teaching that's already online. But am I worried that we might not have our students back? No, because I understand my market and I understand that there's a level of loyalty from the community, but then it differs based on what space you're in and what industry you're in.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Muki.
I think we're having like a bit struggle with the sound, but let me guess if I understood very well. You want me to tell you how in other countries we are struggling? Maybe we are using technology for the firms, for the law firms.
Yes, technology, how technology is being used in law firms, but also in the judicial, in the court system. Are countries able to, file cases using technology, or they have to seek current documents? So is there this kind of technology that can really help in this situation when we cannot be able to move freely?
Actually, this is a very interesting question because I'm a huge lover of tech law, and let's make this difference. It's not that I work in the technology environment. I mean, tech law is more related to how technology works for the lawyers. I mean, in the law firms. I think we can use a lot of technology for processes. So it doesn't matter if we talk about cards or if we are talking about law firms. So in both, we can improve processes using technology. So here in Mexico, I think cards are not like including or exploring their best with technology. Nowadays, we are having remote judgments. We can have some suits online, not all, just like I think it's just penalties, like when it's related to freedom and that kind of stuff, and when it's related to kids, that's all. Not all the topics, and not all the not all the courts are open. But for those, we have like remote sessions, and it's kind of good. I think we can improve. But law firms, I think they are doing really great because they are including a lot of new technologies. Like for example, I think that this was like a huge step, but a lot of law firms are using Zoom, are using these platforms to talk each other, not only between them, but with the clients. And I think that's amazing because not a lot of lawyers used to do that. This is a completely new thing. Also, I think we can have like new platforms that can help us to improve our in processes. For example, in my law firm, we use a platform where we can track our metrics. That means all our tasks, they are like pinned in the platform, so we can know clearly who is working in what and at what moment, and how we can interconnect our work. So I think that's amazing. We don't have to see each other, and we are working like if we were like face to face. Also, I think I love to think, I love to talk in a positive way, but I think I have to say we have some other struggles. That means we use technology, and technology is amazing, as I said before, but there's also cybersecurity, and we have these problems, these issues. we have to protect our communications, our data, and it's something that we are not aware of. I mean, we are using technology, but we don't know the struggles. We don't know what's happening, which are the dangers. So, for example, I have a daughter, and she currently is taking online classes. And when teachers told us that they were learning online, I was like, oh no, what do you want to do? Of course, no, not happening. Because I was so scared about all the risks online. She's so small, and I knew about Zoom bombers, that they are sending bad information. I don't want to say what they project, what they are sending online, because it's really, really awful. And I mean, that fear that I felt, I mean, I use a lot of Zoom, I use a lot of platforms, I use a lot of technology, and I was feeling fear, like real fear, but because I know it. So I talked with the teachers, and they were like super open to listen to me and to all my fears. And they were like, oh, don't worry, we're taking all what we can do in our hands to protect the children. So I'm putting this example, but it's translated to all the entrepreneurship, to all of our, for example, for us, the lawyers, to all the law firms. So we have to take care of what we are sharing, what we are doing. We have to use, or maybe we have to implement cybersecurity processes, and to be aware of these risks. So it's a very good thing, technology, but anything is black or white. We have a lot of colors. And if something is good, it's going to have a bad thing too. So we have to take care, we have to be aware, and we have to open our eyes and take these provisions to avoid a wrong experience.
Thank you so much, Cynthia, for sharing your inputs on this question. And technology, we can keep on talking about technology and how it's relevant, but whoever declines to accept the fact that technology is definitely relevant in our legal profession is doomed to fail going forward, because we are seeing this in our court system, even in our law firm. But also, I've seen somewhere where some law firm have faced the challenge of confidentiality issues to do, which is related to do with technology. Some documents, maybe the clients or even lawyers feel they shouldn't be put to risk by sharing them via these online messaging and sharing platforms, because hackers are also out there on the loop to find a way to also utilize this situation to cause harm to us. So, whereas we also think of embracing technology, let's also think of what mechanism we can also have to protect our information and kind of keep our information separate, but also for the interest of our business, but also interest of our clients. So let me go back to Diane. Diane, you mentioned something to do with domestic violence. I still remember that, and it's critical that we also have your say on how people should really be dealing with this vice of domestic violence. But also, we've seen the issue of race. Racial violence. We've seen what is happening around the world, racism and all other racial upheavals because of technology by the person who used phone to capture this moment and share this recording to the world. There has been an awakening and outrage of what police has been doing for long. And this is related also to the lawyers, what lawyers are doing to make sure that these kind of injustices are brought to book, are brought forward and, tried, and people, the culprits, are put in a place where they deserve to be. That's in jail if they deserve to be there. So Diane, tell us please, what is your say on these two topics? You know, a lot of technology in exposing these kind of injustices, what lawyers should be doing for going forward on that, and also the issue of domestic violence. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So what I'm going to try to do, because bearing in mind that we all from very different backgrounds, so Namoki, you more into art, Stella, you speak somehow with your experience on behalf of entrepreneurs, Cynthia and Kiza, we're fellow lawyers. I don't know the other ones who are currently on the Zoom, what they're doing. So bearing the very diverse group of people that we are, I'm going to try to approach it a bit differently. Firstly, if I can say that I've met women that they've gone through domestic violence and they managed to create beautiful art in many different ways. Now I'm not quite sure during COVID-19 how they're going to be able to do that. So I've joined what is called Women Ambassadors Forum. And this was created by a woman who's been abused by her husband from Albania. And she had to leave the country, go to UK, and she started from scratch this forum. And she's a successful businesswoman that makes a 6-figure amount. And she had 2 children that she had to take from the country, from her country. So there is a lot of inspiring stories from women and men, some of them not as much as women, that they have been, and I've met with a lot of them, that they managed to take that material that it was very negative and make something surprisingly beautiful. And this is a kind of examples that I want to keep in my heart and in my life. When you believe, when we think that things cannot get any worse, you take that and you use that to create something absolutely beautiful. I guess another important aspect of it, which I don't want us to underestimate it, is the principle of a fair trial. I've done trials, I've conducted trials, and I know that women have manipulated the relationship, the marriage, and in order for them to get a more advantageous divorce settlement, they will make up a fake domestic violence allegation in order to get the maximum out of it. So there are cases like that. So it is pivotal to have a fair trial and to allow that to enshrine in a fair trial. Now, from a COVID-19 aspect about domestic violence, I don't know much apart from what I read on statistics from the Criminal Bar Association in UK. I said Cyprus because I am half Cypriot, half Swedish, but I do practice in the UK. There has been an increase in domestic violence. And why is that? My very humble understanding is that if firstly you're not well with yourself, and if you're not well with your husband or with a partner that you decide to live, how is it possible when you've been asked to be quarantined for that relationship to be sustainable? One way or another, it will end up in court, and it could be quite nasty. And when I say domestic violence, it is the context when we talk about domestic violence. But what the indictment will be about, it is either common assault by beating, section 39. It could be a grievous bodily harm, actually bodily harm, and those are all determined by the amount of injury that the victim has been sustained. So, for example, I had a case once that the husband took the wife's head, banged it on the frame of the bed, was been left with a bruise, not a cut. If it was a cut, then that will be most likely GBH, grievous bodily harm, because it has to cut the continuity of your skin for that to be classed as a ABH or GBH. I'm saying all this, but you know, I've been doing this, and 3 out of 5 cases it was domestic violence. I know there's going to be an increase, but it will go back to normal. It's been there. You're trying to educate people as much as you can, and that's the rule of probation. Once we've done with the case and we're close to the sentence, then we have to speak to probation. Probation are experienced people, well educated, that they will speak to the defendant, to the perpetrator, and trying to explain to them what they've done, take responsibility for the criminal activity, because the worst of all is when you don't take responsibility, when they're in complete and utter denial. And I had that many times, I can't even count it. It's been proven beyond reasonable doubt that they're guilty, and nevertheless they insist, which sometimes it may be the case, but most of the times it is quite clear that the evidence against them are overwhelming and they are guilty beyond reasonable doubt. Now, I am very aware that a lot of you're not lawyers here, so I don't want to carry on. But Naimuki, I'm very concerned about the art industry, to be very frank, and what you've said now, it rings a lot of bells as to what can we do to assist. If I can raise my hand and say that I've been always wanted to invest in art, and during COVID-19, I've actually bought a painting from a local artist from my region, you know, he was even happy, you know, to take it even a step further, because it was time to support art, and I think that's crucial, especially if we're talking about sensitive matters like COVID-19. Stella, I don't know, you know, I would like to speak to you because I think that's, you know, your topic. It is, my husband also is a startup. He's an entrepreneur. He's trying to see through this in many different angles. And I do appreciate where you do come from. And I love your positivism. I love your angle. And I would like to speak to you. Cynthia, we should connect. I think we can do some nice stuff together. And Giza, goes without saying that we've always been connected for quite some time, and I admire it and I'm inspired by your work. So well done. So that's about domestic violence, and I will put a full stop here.
All right. Thank you so much, Diane. Wonderful for you know, showing us how these situations are playing all around, and maybe sometimes looks more complicated, more so for domestic violence cases that, you know, that are brought to before courts, and some cases they don't seem to look the way they have been, you know, reported. Some of them are other real cases, but all in all, we understand that there has been a spike in domestic violence, and it is the role of lawyers to help these kind of people who are, you know, vulnerable, to find a way how they can, you know, receive justice. So let's go on. I think we are caught up with time. I will allow Eden Muki to give his remarks on, particularly on the question of entrepreneurs, on young entrepreneurs. You know, the world is moving forward, and we are seeing challenges, but also we're seeing opportunities. So, Eden Muke, as you give your final remarks, I wish you could also call upon young entrepreneurs to be on the lookout, but also be equipped well with all the necessary information and knowledge that they can utilize to, you know, rise up again and, you know, steer the wheels of our economies. So, please, Eden Muke, in your final remarks, what say you?
Namuki, you're muted. You need to unmute.
Just to, before I go on to entrepreneurship, just to talk on domestic violence. I've been recently commissioned by the Arts Council England to develop a piece of work I call Exploring the Man. A piece that celebrates masculinity, but also questions the lack of quality education around emotions and around how to express emotions for young men. But it doesn't really correlate with, I'm not saying it directly correlates with domestic violence, but I'm saying there's a conversation that the society needs to have with itself, and the way we develop young men needs to be looked at. Because I've only been able to have this conversation with myself at my master's level. you know, to be able to explore what I am as a man. And maybe I say in the performance, before commissioning, before it will be developed in the future, I say, give me that formula so I don't make the same mistake as you. Granddad, give me that formula so I don't make the same mistake as you, be it verbal, be it physical, be it sexual. I said, great granddad, give me that formula. So there's a disconnect in quality education, essentially. But like I said, it's not a direct conversation to domestic violence or this moment and the increase of it. Entrepreneurship. The best, if you haven't started working already, and if you haven't started questioning what your business looks like, because as mentioned earlier on, this could be our life. This could be it. And I'm prepared to live in this lifestyle because it's okay with me, because I've been able to shift myself into the space that I can work from home and I can gather and make some income from in this space as an entrepreneur. So this could be the life we live, and we could come back to this moment again. So don't necessarily wait to think, okay, well, we're gonna go back to business and Corona is gonna be done, because that's not the case really, because you don't know what's gonna happen. You know, a virus could ground the whole world that quick. But then I also want to say, find speakers, find podcasts of successful entrepreneurs, and just listen. And just listen, and become updated in their thinking and how they're shifting and how they're moving and how they're shifting their organizations or what they've had to do. Become updated on the innovations that you might have missed. You know, while cleaning, I put on a podcast to just listen, to keep myself mentally up to date. You know, that's what I normally travel for, to stay up to date in global innovations and what's happening in the leadership realm. But not being able to travel means you know, just have to listen, and I just have to keep updating and letting the clocks work. To be innovative is to layer. You can't be innovative necessarily if you don't layer different thinkings. And what do I mean by that? It means you have to be able to tap into a different world of thinking, a different world of maybe technology, you know, technology and dance, or maybe, you know, so you have to be able to see a different world. My organization really focuses on artistic entrepreneurship and leadership. And as an artist, I shouldn't really be talking that much entrepreneurship, because it's a disconnect from what the art should be. And then you layer on leadership and you question arts as therapy, or artists influencing policies, or, you know, it's a layer. So you got to be innovative by layering new knowledge with current knowledge, finding out what's shifted. It's research. And if you're an entrepreneur, I have no directory of where you should go find that information. You should go to YouTube and explore from there. I'll leave it there, and I'm happy for anyone to contact me via my organization, Young Creative Leaders, and we can talk. And I'm happy to have a strategic development moment with anyone that feels, because I guess I'm free.
All right.
Yeah, just give me a minute. I'll just speak.
All right. Thank you so much, Eden Muki, for your contribution to this discussion, and also telling us about your work. And there's so much that people can learn from you, most young entrepreneurs and those who are into art industry. I look forward to still collaborate with you. We still have a running program that we are running with him, a retreat in parts of Europe. So if you want to know much about these retreats, you could ask him or ask me anything to do with that. I will give you that information. So let's proceed. I think we are still late. We're late. We're quarter of time. But allow me to call in Stella. Stella, if you are on, please give us your final remarks going forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kiza. Well, first of all, I want to thank everyone from all these inspirational aspects from different parts of the world and different aspects of business. I think if I had one thing to say, it would be, this is the moment to do whatever you think you have always wanted to do. I've worked a little bit with lawyers also here in Belgium. And what I can tell you is that when I worked with them on changing the way they work towards more a digital aspect, as you said, Cynthia, everything is so traditional. But now there's no choice, Now there's every reason actually to shift. So anything that you've always wanted to do, this is the moment. Even if it didn't make sense before, this is the moment because the attention is highly there. Everybody's looking for hope. So whenever you can put hope, just throw your idea on the market and I'm sure it will just spark. So that's my catch, the last one.
Amazing. You're always amazing. Thank you so much, Stella. And of course, we're gonna have to stay in touch going forward. Just for the record, we also always have our TED circles every month. So we look forward to having our TED circle for this month on 20th.
Amazing.
So thank you so much. Let's call in Diane. Diane, please, your final remarks on this topic and what should be our carry forward for maybe for those who are listening and even us who are.
I guess I'm going to be very, very laconic, and I'm going to say that nothing in the world has ever been accomplished without passion and determination. That's all. Thank you all so much.
Wow, that's a quick way to wrap it up. Well done. Thank you so much. Passion is always critical. Definitely, I agree with you. So let's call in Cynthia. Cynthia, please, your final remarks.
Thank you. First, Stella, you're totally right. Yeah, you're totally right. I agree with you. Second, I would like to say that in every struggle, we have an opportunity. And I think that's what I'm just saying about this. In every struggle, we have an opportunity. So let's take all the opportunities we are facing now.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Cynthia. Couldn't be a better way to wrap it up. So I'll also give my final say on this. We've definitely captured quite an interesting points on what should be done and what has been the status quo. What should be, what should be we doing as lawyers and even entrepreneurs? Well, one of the things that really came up more often is being empathetic to whatever is going on to the people, to our clients. This has been, said by perhaps all of you. We have to understand that we are in a very sad situation. It could be sad, but also it could be an interesting situation where we need to listen to each other, where we need to start asking our clients, how can we do better? And this question will help us as law firms or as entrepreneurs to innovate more, to also find more solutions that resonate with our clients' needs. So we really have to be empathetic to them, to know they are facing challenges just like we are, but let's not make it on ourselves. Rather, let's make it for them. Let's listen to them and see how can we be better going forward. Then we've seen definitely also that law firms will face, just like entrepreneurs, even businesses, will face challenges of capital, fund, liquidity, in terms of money to pay their employees or money to buy goods and services for you to keep in the market. So whereas we should be prepared for these kind of situations and see how can we reduce on our expenditures as maybe as lawyers. We understand that most lawyers will be living a lavish kind of lifestyle. like to drink, we like to go in these fancy places, even when it's not really necessary. So we have to really think twice if we really need to spend this money in this particular area, because we have to slash down on our budgets for the sake of saving money for most relevant and maybe necessary things. Then what also we need to give hope. I think Stella mentioned this much more. We need to give hope to those that are with us, even those that really are looking forward to us. They are looking up to us. These four entrepreneurs, they really need hope, most of young entrepreneurs, because it's challenging for them to be entrepreneurs in a situation where you don't have access to capital. Banks are there, they need securities, and most of them don't have these kind of securities. And also, young lawyers, they are facing it hard, because for them, most of them are being laid off in law firms, because law firms are trying to slash down the expenditure. So by giving this kind of hope that all will be all right, and maybe try to help where you can, I think we shall be able to maneuver through this turbulent period and find a way forward. So finally, I would love to re-echo what I just said. We all have a lot to pray, just like everyone has said. Passion has to pray in this situation. Commitment, we have to be committed. We have to work professional. We have to really think out of the box. I've seen success stories of people who have come up with products during this lockdown, be it applications, be it products that have not been on the market but are necessary because of the situation. So this is what it calls for entrepreneurs, and also for anyone who wants to thrive in this period. See the loophole in your area, in your market, and find a way to bridge that loophole. It could be an entrepreneur way, or it could be in a legal approach way. Even lawyers should be innovative, because many challenges are coming up. Banks are closing down on mortgages. People cannot be able to pay their mortgages because they are not working. And these are clients who need lawyers' assistance. So the better way to find innovative solution for these clients is the better way for us to empower our economies to bounce forward, like Stella said. Thank you so much for everyone who has kept time on this discussion and also contributed in one way or the other. I understand we have not accepted questions on the platform because of time, and we had so much to say about this. But feel free to type your question, and also we can connect you with our speakers, or just say hello to those speakers that we have. If you're on Zoom now, you can share the question with the particular panelists that spoke on that topic, and they will be able to give you more answers if you have a different question that we didn't capture.